With us today is Dr. Charles Chodroff, Director of Outpatient Services at the York Hospital. Welcome, Dr. Chodroff. Is there a particular time of the year which is considered to be prime for colds and influenza?
I won't be in again today. This cold seems to be dragging on forever. I don't know when I'll be back. Hopefully in a couple days. Okay. See you in a day or so. Bye. This is the pit. I've been feeling lousy for 3 days so far. First I was achy all over. You know, my head hurt, my body hurt. Then I got chills and fever. Now I have a sore throat and I'm all stuffed up. I'm tired of being sick. I mean, I haven't been to aerobics class all week. If this keeps up, I'll have thunder thighs. I'm so depressed. This darn cold.
Excuse me, but I don't think you have a common cold. It sounds to me more like you have influenza.
Great. Now I'm hallucinating. Okay. So how do you know I don't have a cold?
A cold is a more simple illness. Most people complain of nasal congestion, perhaps with a scratchy throat, maybe with a non-productive cough and a headache, maybe a little bit of fever, but nothing very high. A flu, which is caused by the influenza virus, is usually a more severe illness, something more like what it sounds like you have. People often have high fevers, they often have a dry, hacking cough, and really feel awful all over their body, the medical term for which we call myalgias. So you've had fevers, chills, and you ache all over. Is that right?
Yes, well, you know, kind of blah.
That sounds more like the flu to me, especially since it's lasting so many days. Often a cold will get better in a day or two, whereas the flu will persist for up to a week or 10 days.
You know, I think I know how I caught this. Last week after aerobics class, I was in a hurry because I was meeting my boyfriend Harry. So I took a quick shower and I left before my hair was dry. It was also cold out, I didn't wear a hat. That must be how I caught it.
That's a common misconception that people have. They often think that they got a cold because they didn't take care of themselves, the old thought of not buttoning up their overcoat. In reality, it's probably more complex than that. Viruses are very, very tiny particles of living matter that travel throughout our environment on small water droplets that are in the air all about us. They often are inhaled by people, and this is their route of introduction into the body. They are expelled into the air when we cough or sneeze and can exist for many, many hours or even days about us before we inhale these water droplets. It's likely that you picked this up from someone else, perhaps even a complete stranger, and it's almost impossible to say where that might have been.
Are cold and flu viruses the same?
Well, they are somewhat similar in that they're both caused by virus particles, and they're similar in size, but just like you and I are different types of people, these are different types of viruses and will often produce different symptoms. The common cold often just produces a runny nose, scratchy throat, and a little bit of headache and fever. The flu can be a very serious illness and can occasionally produce death.
Are there ways to avoid these viruses?
Well, in reality, probably not. It's virtually impossible to isolate ourselves from the environment around us.
So why do I always seem to get the flu in the winter?
We often see epidemics of influenza during the winter months. There are some interesting theories on why this occurs. As I mentioned before, some people think it's because we tend to exist in more closed environments because of the cold weather. There are some new interesting theories that perhaps these viruses have a special predilection for the lining of our nose and throat, and the temperatures on the inside of our nose and throat will change during the winter months, dropping just slightly to a degree that allows the virus to infect us.
Would it have helped if I had gotten a flu shot?
Flu shots are a vital part of preventing flu epidemics. They work by promoting the development of antibodies in our blood against the influenza virus, and at the least will minimize the symptoms that you might experience if you are exposed to the influenza virus. At its best, it'll actually prevent any illness whatsoever. If you've already had the flu, then it might be too late at this point for you to get the flu shot. However, for next year, it might be considered worthwhile. There are certain groups of individuals in society that we particularly target as candidates for the flu vaccine. These include all people who are over age 65 and anybody who has a serious heart or lung condition. The reason for this is that these people often go on to develop severe complications that result in hospitalization and, unfortunately, unnecessary deaths. What have you been doing to treat your influenza?
Well, I took aspirin a couple of times, but it didn't really seem to help.
Aspirin is probably okay for you, but I would not use it for any children or adolescents who develop similar symptoms. The reason for this is that children who develop influenza and use aspirin are at risk for developing a disease known as Reye's syndrome. This is a very serious illness that can produce death. If you are going to use aspirin or acetaminophen, do use it on a regular basis. This will help prevent the reemergence of fever and will relieve some of the muscle aches that you're experiencing.
What about taking some of these?
Those medicines may help you feel better, but they won't shorten the duration of your illness because they have no effect whatsoever on the virus. It is important, however, that you not mix medicines. The reason is that they can contain similar ingredients that can have additive effects, and you can actually overdose yourself. Many people complain that when they use over-the-counter antihistamine products that they become very drowsy, and this is a natural side effect of antihistamines. Are you drinking plenty of fluids?
Well, I've been getting a lot of advice on that subject. Mom says to drink plenty of broth, and Uncle Jack says to drink plenty of brandy, and he says that for everything. I'm not really sure what to drink other than water.
Water itself is probably the best fluid to drink, though fruit juices are also good since they contain sugar, which adds energy to your body. Soup broths are also good since they contain salt, which sometimes becomes lost when we develop high fevers. I would caution you against drinking alcohol or caffeine-containing beverages, since these can actually compound the dehydration by promoting water loss from your body. It's very important that the air around you also be humidified, since this will help loosen the secretions in your lung and will also soothe your throat and your nasal passages.
Gee, that's a good idea. I guess if I would have gone to the doctor and gotten some medication, I'd be over this by now.
Perhaps. Many physicians will add an antibiotic if you have a cough that's productive of phlegm. It's very important that you not smoke while you have the flu, since this will promote the development of bronchitis that would require an antibiotic.
Well, I have just one more question. Is this considered a house call?
No, this is considered television.
Oh. Do you know anybody on General Hospital?
No, I'm a real doctor.
I think I'd better get some rest now.
Yes, that would be a good idea.